Hi guys, it's Cece, and today I'm here to talk about all of my favorite things from the month of June. June was a super exciting month. It was Pride. I went on vacation to New York City. I watched a lot of TV and a lot of YouTube, and I just did a lot of stuff and got some new stuff, and I want to talk about all of it. So let's just jump right in, and the first couple things I want to talk about are both TV shows that I loved in June. Okay, first of all, Season 2 of Sense8. I finally finished watching it in June, and so we went on a roller coaster with Sense8 in the month of June. At the very beginning, the first day, it got canceled, and I was heartbroken. I was only a couple of episodes into the second season, and I just didn't even know what to do because I knew we weren't going to get any more. Then I finished the second season, decided it was even better than the first. It was incredible, and then I moped for days because it ended on a cliffhanger and we were never going to get a solution. And then, right before the end of June, we got a note from Netflix. Sense8 is coming back with a movie to finish off the show. In case you don't know, Sense8 is about this group of 8 people. They all live all over the world, and they slowly discover that they're able to connect to one another in their minds. It's a super fantastic sci-fi show, and it's also fantastically diverse. Main cast features a range of different races, of sexualities. There's a trans main character played by an actual trans actress. And while the first season is slow and you kind of get to know the characters, the second season opens the world up so much and allows you to love the characters that you started to love so deeply. I swear I cried in almost every single episode. I could easily see it becoming one of my favorite shows upon a rewatch. I just adore it, and I thought that the second season was such a note of how much the show could grow. I'm sad that we don't get more seasons, but at least we get something to finish off this show because it deserves it so deeply, and I loved the second season. The other show I want to talk about is actually also a Netflix original show, and that is Glow. Glow stands for the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. It's set in the 80s, and it's about the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. It's a really fast show to get through. There are only 10 episodes, and each episode is between 20 and 30 minutes. I got through it all in one evening with a group of friends. It's incredibly female-driven and hilarious. It focuses on all of these different kind of weird relationships between all of these women who've been drawn together to do such a weird thing, but such a thing that helps all of them so much at the point that they're all at in their lives. Even the male characters that are introduced at the beginning that I assumed I wasn't going to like, I really loved by the end because I loved how much all of their relationships were focused on within such a short period of time. It's so much fun. It's full of 80s music and such an 80s vibe. It's empowering and interesting, and I just cannot wait for a second season. We're getting one, right? Because we'd better be getting a second season. This was such a great first season. The next couple of things I want to talk about are both YouTube related. One is a video series and one is a channel. The video series that I want to mention is Chosen Family. This was something done by Tyler Oakley on his channel for Pride. There are 8 episodes total. Some are a lot longer than others, but that's because they cover much heavier topics, I think. And this does cover a huge range of topics, from queer refugees to Orlando to just having a fun get-together with a group of queer YouTubers to talk about queer experiences. I think it was a really incredible undertaking of Tyler's, and I think that for 8 episodes, it packs in so much information about the history of the queer community, where we are today. It's uplifting and vocal, and I just so highly encourage you to go and watch it. I loved every single episode, though big warning on the Orlando one, I sobbed like a child through it. Seriously though, if you haven't already gone and watched the entirety of Chosen Family, I highly encourage you to do so. And the other YouTube thing is a channel, and that is a channel called Movies with Mikey. So I've been talking for a couple of months now about how I'm really into channels that kind of break down movies and just dig deeper into movies, because I love movies and I love learning more about them and I love thinking more about them. A couple of friends introduced me to Movies with Mikey, and he's quickly become my favorite of these channels. This is probably mostly due to his style. Mikey is a really really funny, and he mixes that along with these really intense analyzations of movies that I love. And even analyzing movies I don't love, like The World's End. I don't really care that much about The World's End. It's my least favorite Edgar Wright movie, but hearing him talk about it was so incredibly interesting to come from that perspective and see all of the things that I didn't notice about the movie when I saw it. I loved his video about The Prisoner of Azkaban. I thought the one about Serenity was super interesting. I do recommend the Iron Giant one, but again, huge warning, I sobbed through it, but it's because it was related back to Orlando, and yeah. But really, if you like getting more in-depth with movies, this is a great video series to go with. I think that they're engaging and fun and really well produced, and I love the entire channel in general. Okay, a couple of movies, and since I was just talking about Edgar Wright, I have to talk about Baby Driver. Edgar Wright is my favorite director, which I feel I should be upfront about. He directed, in case you don't know, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, plus the Cornetto trilogy, which is Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End, and his newest movie is Baby Driver. This movie is so impressive in terms of what I think movie making can be, in that I think it pushes the limits on a lot of things. Moments in the movie without music are few and far between, and what I think is incredible is that the entire movie is choreographed. It's all set to the beat of whatever song is playing at the moment. The sound effects in the background are set to the music. The stuff written on the walls are reflections of the lyrics. People talking match the rhythm of whatever's happening, and I just could not get over the impressive filmmaking that went into Baby Driver, including the fact that I love heist movies, I love getaway movies, I adore them. This just fit me perfectly. Don't get me wrong, the love interest could have been better. She was kind of an insta-love person who existed, and yes, I have a problem with that, but I just think Baby Driver was an incredible amount of fun. It's by no means my new favorite Edgar Wright movie. That's probably going to go to Hot Fuzz forever, but I think it was a really impressive showing, and I just can't get over the amount of attention to detail that went into this. And the other movie I obviously have to talk about is Wonder Woman. And considering the fact that I have felt very superheroed out in terms of movies in general, this was so good, and it was such a great way of being a superhero movie without feeling like every other superhero movie. Obviously, female superhero, the thing I have been longing for, and that was a huge part of why I loved it, but also the Amazons in general were they just hit me while I was watching the movie. There's a point at which someone jumps off a shield, vaults into the air, and shoots 3 arrows at once, and I felt kind of ridiculous in the theater, but it got me to tear up because all of those fight scenes with the Amazons just meant a great deal. I loved that I got to sit through this entire movie and I didn't feel like Wonder Woman or any of the Amazons were really sexualized at any point. I thought it was funny, and I really liked the heart of this movie, because the reason I don't like DC at times is that it feels like they're relying too much on grit and how dark everything is and how hopeless everything is, and grit doesn't compel me that much. I love that this was a movie about hope and about love, and I left the theater feeling really positive because that was such a change from a lot of the movies, especially superhero movies, that I've seen lately. Everyone has talked about Wonder Woman at this point, so I won't take up any more of your time, but I thought it was really, really great. I would love to see it again. It was a really enjoyable movie, and I'm so glad that I finally got the chance to see it. Next up, kind of a random one for me, I want to recommend a comedy album. So that album is Butcher by Rhea Butcher, who is a lesbian comedian. She has a series with her wife called Take My Wife. I've only watched one episode of that, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I really wanted to listen to both of their albums. I haven't gotten to Cameron Esposito's yet, but I loved listening to Butcher. Rhea Butcher is hysterical. To be honest with you, I think the first time I heard either of them speak, it was when I was listening to an episode of Buffering the Vampire Slayer, and they were like guests in the podcast. Podcasts and comedy albums. Neither of these are things I usually am invested in, but here we are. There was just something that felt so magnificently gay about listening to this album, and I have always loved comedians. I love watching stand-up. I love listening to comedians, but there's always kind of a disconnect because I feel like I listen to a lot of men, and sometimes that can go really poorly. The only other queer lady comedian that I've listened to is Tig Notaro, who I adore. She's possibly my favorite, but I think Rhea Butcher has found a new place there. This album is pretty short and it's just really funny. It is so deeply funny. I listened to the whole thing on Spotify. You can do that. It's probably other places too, but yeah, I highly recommend this one. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so I really have to show off a new Funko Pop that I got, and that is this one. This is the Jolly Roger, and the reason I have this is because I have an absolutely lovely friend, Rachel, who works at Disneyland, and she got this for me. So the reason this was there, this was a Disney Parks exclusive Funko Pop, which means you can only get it at the Disney Parks, is that it was the 50th anniversary of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. So Rachel also sent this along. This is something that they were handing out at the ride, I think, and it's got, 50th anniversary on the front, and then on the back there are a bunch of, pirate sayings and stuff. But I could not be more pleased with this. I haven't actually pulled him out of the box yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to or not. I keep moving him around to different places on my bookshelf because I want to display him, but I haven't figured the right place yet. He needs to be prominent. But I mean, he's super detailed. You can kind of see it on the sword from in here, and I love Pirates of the Caribbean. This is just a perfect fit. It's one of my top 3 favorite Disney rides. It's one of my favorite Disney live-action movies. And I'm just so pleased that Rachel got this for me because I love it. I also kind of wanted to show off a couple of housewares, which is weird for these favorites videos. I'm not usually a housewares kind of gal, but I have a couple. First of all, this clock from Target. This is in no way a fancy clock. I'm pretty sure it cost a grand total of $10 to $15, but I really wanted a clock. I have my phone in here, but I wanted to be able to wake up, turn over, and see a clock, and it just looks really nice on my bedside table. Plus, I can't walk into Target without buying something, and so I bought this. And if you watched my vlogs from the month of June, you know that it took me 2 to 3 full weeks to finally get the battery for this to work, but you know what? It looks really nice next to my lamp, so I'm okay with that. And the other housewares item I got was this picture frame. Obviously, I have now put a picture in here of Janelle and I. I really wanted to get a new picture frame. I've had one back here on the shelves for years and years now from it was just this little paper frame that I got from the first dance I ever went to at college with Janelle. It was a really outdated picture of us, and I wanted something new. So I was wandering around the picture frame section, and I found this one, and I love it because it's kind of thick. It's, it's held on by just this little, it's held on just a little bit by this little see-through front piece, and I liked that it can also kind of double as a bookend, which is what it's doing down there. It's kind of holding the ends of my books up. Now, I took this picture of us when we were in New York City filming, actually. I was trying to get a cute thumbnail for our girlfriend tag. This I just took because I was trying to get a cute reaction, and it wound up being one of my favorite pictures of all time, possibly my favorite ever picture of Janelle and I, so really glad to have this on my shelf now. I think it's a cute picture frame, and I think that it goes with this picture perfectly. So those are all of the things that I want to show you. I did do a couple of really cool things in June that were also favorites. I was in the Salt Lake City Pride Parade. I got to walk. My dad works for our news station, and the news station walked in the Pride Parade. He invited my sister and I to go along, and it was such a cool experience to be on the inside of that parade. I got to walk for block after block, waving this huge rainbow flag behind me. I got to scream at protesters and feel the most safe I've ever felt and the most surrounded by love that I've ever felt. It was such a wonderful and positive experience, and I am so glad that I got to do it, especially that I got to do it with my dad and my sister. Like I said, I went on vacation to New York City and saw Janelle, which I really, really needed. We're apart for a really long time right now, and I mean, any hour that I get to see Janelle is a good hour, but to be able to spend 4 or 5 days with her in New York City and just be able to explore the city together was wonderful, and it was really good. And the final cool thing that I wanted to mention for the month of June was I went to an author event with Mackenzie Lee, the author of The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. She came to Salt Lake City, and she went to a bookstore in Salt Lake called The King's English, which is a beautiful bookstore. It was great. I got my book, which I got signed to me, and I also got a cute little Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue bookmark, as well as these 2 pins which say, I ship Monty and Percy and abso-bloody-lutely. Mackenzie Lee was so sweet and funny, and I loved hearing more about the book before I actually started reading it. I'm more than halfway through now, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I always love getting the chance to go to author events when I'm in Utah because they happen much less often. Plus, I got to meet a subscriber while I was there. We talked for a really long time, and it was so nice to actually meet her in person. Anyway, it was a really cool event, and I'm so glad that I got the chance to go. Okay, guys, there you go. Those are all of my favorite things from the month of June. If you have anything to share about any of the things I talked about, please do so in the comments below, and let me know a few of your favorite things from the month as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!